Under your feet lies a living thread of fungus so long it could reach the sun and back. In June 2026, scientists finally put a number on it, roughly 110 quadrillion kilometers of fungal thread. That came from 16,000 soil samples worldwide, and in 1 teaspoon of soil up to 10 meters of network. This is the so-called wood wide web, the underground system people say lets trees talk, share, even parent. It's one of the most beloved science stories of our time. It is also one of the most contested. Because the closer researchers look at those buried connections, the messier and stranger the real story gets. It starts in 1997 in a British Columbia forest with a young ecologist named Suzanne Simard. She sealed paper birch and Douglas fir seedlings inside plastic bags and fed them specially labeled carbon dioxide. 9 days later she harvested them, and the birch's carbon was sitting inside the fir next door. It had crossed between 2 completely different species, underground, through roots and fungal threads, never touching the air. And here is the twist. The more deeply she shaded the fir, the more sugar seemed to flow its way. Nature put it on the cover, and a British scientist, David Reed, gave the idea its name, the Wood Wide Web. The plumbing behind it is real and ancient. Fungi wrap and invade plant roots in a deal called mycorrhiza. We even have fossils of it. 407-million-year-old Scottish rock, with fungus threading an early plant. Today, around 85% of plant species run this partnership. Without it, most forests simply would not exist. The trade is simple. The fungus mines water, phosphorus and nitrogen from soil that thick roots can never reach. In return, the plant hands over sugar, somewhere between 4 and 20% of everything it photosynthesizes. That is an enormous tax, and a single fungus does not stop at one tree, which is where the web begins. In 2010, Kevin Beeler and Simard genetically fingerprinted the fungi in a 30 by 30 meter Douglas fir plot. 2 rhizopogon species each formed 13 or 14 individuals, and one single fungus could colonize up to 19 trees. The finished map looked oddly like the internet. A few big, old, heavily connected hubs holding everything else together. Simard called those hubs mother trees, and suggested they might quietly feed the seedlings growing in their shade. The idea escaped the lab. A German forester, Peter Wohlben, turned it into a book selling over 2 million copies. Trees, he wrote, feel pain, love their children and whisper warnings. Simard's own memoir became a bestseller too. Hollywood borrowed it, documentaries adored it, and the forest became a wise, cooperative family. Then came the audit. In February 2023, 3 mycorrhizal specialists published a review in Nature Ecology and Evolution, and it landed hard. Justine Karst, Melanie Jones, and Jason Hoeksema had spent whole careers studying these fungi. They were not outsiders. They asked a blunt question. How much of this beautiful popular story is actually backed by real field evidence? Claim 1, that these networks blanket every forest. In reality, they had been genetically mapped in only 5 studies. 5 studies, 2 forest types, 2 tree species, 3 kinds of fungus. That is the entire mapping evidence base. Claim 2, that network sharing helps seedlings survive. They gathered 26 field studies and found no clean answer. Fewer than 1 in 5 showed seedlings clearly better off. Neutral, no difference results were the most common outcome. Claim 3, the emotional heart of it all. Mother trees deliberately sending food and warnings to their own offspring. For that, in real forests they found not one single supporting peer-reviewed published field study. Not one. Worse, they traced how the original papers were being cited, and the retelling had drifted badly from the data. In recent papers, fewer than half the statements made about those founding studies were accurate. The story outgrew itself. Simard pushed back. In January 2025, she and colleagues answered, calling the review selective and methodologically unfair. Her core point stands. Carbon really does move between trees through several underground pathways at once, not only fungi. And the effects depend on the forest. A shade-loving Douglas fir is nothing like a sun-hungry Scandinavian pine. So strip out the fairy tale and what actually survives. Honestly, things far weirder than the myth was. Plants absolutely do send airborne alarm chemicals. In 2023, a Japanese team finally filmed a neighbor receiving one. Calcium lit up across the leaf in real time as it smelled an injured plant and armed its own defenses. Carbon really does travel plant to fungus to plant. Ghost pipe, that waxy white flower, has no chlorophyll at all. It photosynthesizes nothing. It taps into tree fungi and steals their sugar, proven with radioactive carbon back in 1960. Trees also fuse roots directly. In New Zealand, researchers found a leafless kauri stump alive on its neighbor's water. And the fungi are not loyal servants. Toby Kears showed plants and fungi trade like a market, rewarding generous partners. Cheats get starved out. In 2026, another team tracked stress signals moving through the fungal network itself. And it is not always gentle. Earth's largest known organism is an Oregon fungus killing trees across 4 square miles. But here is what really matters. Plants pump around 13 billion tons of carbon dioxide into these fungi every year. That rivals a third of fossil fuel emissions, and most of it stays unmapped, unprotected, and nothing like a fairy tale.